touch me, and that hand will never touch anything again.
Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock for like the past week, you will have known that Tales of Arise has had a huge info dump. There's just been so much new information, including a release date, multiple trailers. Producer Tomizawa has been out there giving us a whole bunch of new info, new characters, gameplay, so we're going to discuss all of that. I'm going to try and cover it as much as possible, and this is unscripted, which is different for me, so I hope this works out. There are going to be two parts to this because there really is so much to cover. In this first part, we're going to discuss art style, graphics, maps, exploration, characters, and a few other little tidbits, and then part two will focus on the combat, because that really is a huge can of worms all on its own. So let's start with the release date first of all. It will come to the PS4, Xbox One, PC via Steam, and PS5 and Xbox Series X, Series S, whatever you want to call that. All of that will come on the 9th or 10th of September, depending on your time zone. So essentially it's the 9th of September, but for some that will be the 10th, for some of us that will be the 9th. This is the first big Mothership Tales title to have a simultaneous worldwide release. Every other time it's come out in Japan first, and then we had to wait. In the really bad times, we had to wait several years for each entry to come over in English, and it got whittled down by the time Berseria came out. I think it was around 6 or 7 months. So they have whittled it down, and now we're to simultaneous worldwide release. There will be free next-gen upgrades for those who get the PS4 and Xbox One version, so don't be scared about getting one of the older gen versions, because there'll be free digital upgrade packs if you end up getting a next-gen console. For the next-gen consoles, I'm not sure if this is only next-gen consoles or if this is on the older consoles as well, but there will be two graphics modes. So one that prioritizes 60 frames per second and the other that prioritizes resolution, most likely 4K. Another extra feature for next-gen is that there will be special haptic feedback support for the PlayStation 5 controller. Tomizawa said that using Thunder Magic will feel different from using Fire Magic, for example. I've actually been trying to tell people on Twitter and elsewhere for a while now that this really isn't unusual for Tales to not have like this steady stream of info. Generally they'll announce it and then we don't really start getting a huge amount of new information until the release is imminent. Basically, it's like we don't really start finding out about the game until it's like 6 months away from release. This time, it's only 4 months away from release, and this is when they're really starting up the marketing campaign. They just don't do like several year-long marketing campaigns like a lot of other games do. So now, as for Tales of Arise, it is a 25th anniversary title, even though the 25th anniversary was last year. A lot of the 25th anniversary stuff will be celebrated this year because of COVID and etc. The theme of Tales of Arise is inheritance and evolution. Tomizawa said that a lot of thought went into how they would evolve the series without losing its identity, which is why it's inheritance and evolution. So they want to keep what makes Tales great there, but also evolve and move the series forward. That theme of inheritance and evolution really carries over to the twin worlds that the game is set around. So there's Dana and Rena, and that I think really invokes the Tales series, because a lot of the Tales series revolves around, or a lot of the entries in the Tales series evolve around two separate planets or dimensions or worlds. So Sakuraba will be returning as the composer. He's been the main Tales composer for a long time, and the soundtrack will be fully orchestrated. So that has been confirmed. It's not confirmed yet whether there will be collaboration tracks. Sometimes they bring in some other composers to add to the soundtrack. That wouldn't surprise me at all, given how big this project is. But I think Sakuraba has been getting a bad rap with the last few sort of Tales entries. A lot of people seem to think his music is underwhelming, but I think it's just because if you really look back at the period, the PS3 period of Tales games, he was having to pump out these 90 plus song soundtracks more than once a year, because he was doing all of the Tales games, which were coming out almost yearly. He was doing things like Eternal Sonata, a bunch of other Bandai Namco projects, and projects that weren't even at Bandai Namco. So he had a lot on his plate, and I think creativity is definitely going to suffer in that kind of rushed environment. He's had more than enough time with the Tales of Arise soundtrack to really make it great, to really bring the best to this soundtrack, and I'm quite looking forward to it. Now, one thing that people were really worried about was that they haven't shown skits at all, and whether there would be skits, whether there wouldn't be. Well, now we can absolutely 100% say that there are definitely skits in the game. Tomizawa has now mentioned it twice. He mentioned it in a section about the combat, so combat will now not have victory screens. Instead, there will be post-battle interactions that are just played out in the field, and as part of that, he mentioned that those post-battle interactions are separate from skits. So there will be skits, they just can't be revealed right now. He also said in a joined Scarlet Nexus Tales of Arise YouTube live stream recently, or Nico live stream recently, that skits are definitely in the game, he just can't reveal them quite yet. He also said that there's tons of stuff he wants to talk about, but he just can't talk about it yet. So moving on to the characters, I think there is definitely a focus here on both Alphen and Shion as a pair. We have heard previously that, technically the main character is Alphen. You'll be playing as Alphen sort of from his perspective, but Alphen and Shion really look like they are sort of the combined main protagonists or main characters, because they just seem inseparable. From all the stuff we've seen, even the collector's edition comes with a statue of both of them. So I really think that it's going to focus on them as a pair rather than, just being a sort of an Alphen story. It's going to be an Alphen and Shion story. So there were 2 new characters revealed in the new trailers and new stuff like that. The new characters are Rinwell, the mage, and Law, the fighter. I guess you could say monk archetype, has been in previous games. He just uses, like fists and fist weapons and fighting. That's the kind of character we're looking at. Both of these characters, Rinwell and Law, are from Dana, like Alphen, and there are more characters to be revealed, according to Tomizawa, including more party members from Rena, which is Shion's homeworld. Based on what we're seeing with the new trailers and explanations and all that kind of stuff, it would seem that what first draws Shion to Dana in the first place is that she is unable to find a cure for her affliction on Rena. Shion has an affliction that basically causes terrible pain to anything she touches or anything that touches her. The mascot character for this entry is known as a Hootle, and it's a fuzzy little owl thing, and you'll see one that follows Rinwell around. It's a specific Hootle, and its name is Fururu. Tomizawa said that character animations, particularly facial animations, have been dramatically improved. He likened it to the way that a Pixar movie is able to have many variations in the facial animations, making each of the characters feel distinct. He says there isn't any of the super exaggerated cartoony animation like in a Pixar movie, but the scale and variability is there. The game will have both in-engine cutscenes and fully animated sequences like in previous entries. The animation is being handled by Ufotable, who are currently riding high on the success of Demon Slayer. Tomizawa says that Arise will have the most fully animated sequences of any Tales game so far. Moving on to graphics and art style and sort of the world itself, I think that what is evident from the most recent trailers is that environments are much more heavily stylized than a lot of people thought it was when it was first revealed. Producer Tomizawa sort of re-explained that art style philosophy. It's supposed to be like a watercolor painting. The details in the background fade into distinct watercolor features, while the foreground details are enhanced to match the classic Tales look look of the characters. It's almost as if you are moving through a painting, the watercolors coming to life as you approach them. This art style was a big challenge for the team for many reasons. Arise is the first title on a new engine in a very long time, and I believe the first on an off-the-shelf engine rather than something in-house. They developed what they're calling the atmospheric shader to achieve the stylized look they wanted within Unreal Engine 4. Art director Iwamoto said the themes he focused on were unity and a sense of reality. And by a sense of reality, he doesn't mean photorealistic or a more realistic art style. He means that the characters and the world come together so you could believe this world really does exist. Even though they experimented with a fully open world, they decided on a more linear approach using field maps like the previous entries from the PS3 and PS4. The field maps this time around though are much more detailed, a lot more vertical, and offer a lot more exploration. I'd say there's something in between Dragon Quest XI and the last couple of Tales games. You can swim, climb, and find different routes and treasures, etc. Tomizawa said there will be lots of side quests, subroutes, and detours. So I think that's going to wrap up this part 1 of the big Tales of Arise info discussion. Part 2, as I said, will be about combat and any other details if new details pop up, though I did wait to put this one out until the Tales of Arise and Scarlet Nexus Nico stream happened just before I'm doing this final record. So I'll have links to trailers and all the new stuff basically in a pinned comment down below, so go check that out. Let me know what you're thinking about Tales of Arise so far. I know there seems to be a lot of people worried about things missing features or it not really looking like a Tales game anymore or feeling like a Tales game anymore. I'm not really sure what you guys are seeing that I'm not, because to me, this looks like a really awesome Tales game for one, but also a very natural progression. In the combat section, we will talk about the removal of the co-op function that has been in most previous mainline Tales games. That's unfortunate for the people who used to play co-op, but other than that, I really can't see anything that's missing here. They haven't revealed the skit system yet, but we know it's there. Victory screens, are just being replaced with a more seamless thing, which is one of the coolest things from Zestiria, which was the way that characters just interacted naturally throughout the world. Some of the best moments in Zestiria were from that. Just think about Edna and Dezel in the Temple of Wind. Anyway, I won't ramble on anymore. Jump down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking of Tales of Arise, if there's anything that's worrying you, what's exciting you. Check out all the trailers, all that stuff, and I'll be back soon with the part 2 combat discussion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.